Go live button. It's nice to see all of you today. You know that?
Yeah, you as well.
Yeah, nice to see you too.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So we're back with the ACT-based self-isolation support. It's officially April 20th, 2020. Welcome, everybody. It's nice to see that people are waiting for the live stream to start. So that's really sweet. Thank you, folks, for hanging in with us. We made it through the weekend. Yeah, so let's do just a little check-in. How are you folks doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Can you hear me okay? Everybody can hear me okay?
Actually, can hear you crystal clear, Steve. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I got new headphones. So like the mic on these headphones seems to be really spectacular. So
are they wireless headphones?
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
They sound great.
Yeah.
There's like zero latency.
Woo!
Audiophile nerd talk.
You're right. Zero latency. Yeah, I'm good. It was I had a pretty good weekend. It was obviously laid back. There wasn't a lot of work to be done. Yeah. But yeah, it was really good. I got to teach a yoga class on Saturday, so that was nice, and got a bunch of good feedback on it. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And then just
we should talk more about what it's like to teach yoga online. But before we go there, yes, and family, you had a birthday to celebrate yesterday. Special.
I made icing.
Covered in icing, like literally. Did you do a cake smash for your 10th birthday?
It's her 10th birthday. I made icing and we covered mini muffins in icing and unicorn waffles. Wafers. There were also
typical birthday stuff. Just lots of icing, lots of girly decorations and stuff.
I object. Unicorns are gender neutral.
Okay, here we go.
Yes. I agree. Unicorns are gender neutral.
That is too sweet.
All right then. Yeah, so we just had a good time. We did
chocolate.
Yeah, chocolate. Easter chocolate was cheaper and it's on reduced price, so I got loads of that stuff, and we had a egg hunt. So that was good, and then we just had a few games, so it was nice to just do that sort of stuff. And then the kids called the cousins on WhatsApp, and they had like a long video call and played some games together on the internet.
So, very nice.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
I got IL right now.
Yeah. So they play this like little game online that you can play with loads of other people, but then you can have a separate like private party.
It's not necessarily
and you
private.
Send the link to your friends.
Okay.
They can all play together with you.
And what system is this for, or what game is this?
What's it called? Paper.io.
Yeah, but it's not necessarily private.
It's not necessarily private.
It's just the one where you can make sure that you're playing with friends.
Oh, okay. So other people can join, but it ensures that all your friends get the link so they can join in.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Well, that's fun. Yeah.
And this is for phones, tablets?
Well, the good thing is that you can pretty much do it on the computers. So they use both the laptops and the tablet they was using. We've not tested it on the phones yet.
Okay.
Sounds all right.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm so not familiar with this. I have a PS4 that I play games online, like with friends of mine who have now moved abroad or live all over the place, and so we chat with each other over headsets on the PS4 as we play games. But I'm not totally familiar with what's happened with like online gaming and multiplayer and stuff like that. Yeah, so that's cool.
Mm-hmm. Like I know Adele's been using this app called House Party, I guess it's called.
House Party. So it's kind of like a Zoom thing, only there are games built into the format. So like you can be talking to all your friends and having a little meeting, and then you can play a game like Pictionary, and then the one person is drawing on the screen and the other people are trying to guess the game, and then they can pause games, have conversations, and that's pretty neat. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Technology is wonderful these days.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah. I think everybody's thinking out of the box now, different ways of doing stuff. So there's Netflix House Party as well. Have you heard of that?
No.
So is that separate from House Party that Steve was talking about?
Yeah.
Adele's
Yeah.
using?
Yeah. Basically, it's just like a bit like the game that they do, the kids, but it's like you send the if you want to watch a Netflix movie with your mates, and it pauses at the same time when somebody pauses it, you've got a little chat thing at the side, and you can watch movies with your friends online. So you just send them the link, and then you can do that. So
interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming kind of like what I was saying about Steve's headphones having 0 latency. It's weird because this microphone has like 90 milliseconds of latency. So I have to like delay my camera by 90 seconds so that, you don't hear like my hand clap and the audio be out of sync. But it's mind blowing to me as like a, audio, tech kind of like live broadcasting nerd that like this technology exists. Like being able to simultaneously as if you and I were hanging out and we were watching what's that show that everybody's getting on about right now? Ozarks, right? The Ozark, and we were watching that. Like a scene happens where I don't know what happens on that show. Drugs get discovered or something. Who knows? I'm sure there's a lot of murder, a lot of drugs. Right? I think
There's a lot of murder and drugs.
Netflix, popular shows. Anyways, so somebody gets shot or drugs get found, and you're like, and I'm not like 10 seconds behind you, being like, oh, something big's about to happen, right? Like it's happening simultaneously.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, because so when I've been abroad and my friends, Ed and Krista, big shout out to Ed and Krista, who, were trying to help me feel less lonely. We watched this TV show called Community, and we would try to sync up, like hitting the play button at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, so that we could have our old routine of just, the three of us hanging out on the couch watching a TV show. And of course that never worked out. Somebody would always be out of sync. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
My mind is officially blown, everybody.
Yeah. That's got rid of that problem. It literally, when someone wants the loo, they press pause and they say, I'm going to the loo, and then it's pause for everybody.
That's awesome. That's really great.
So yeah, pretty good.
Okay. Cool. So shall we start with a brief meditation just to get ourselves settled into this space?
Yeah, please.
Oh, and Rebecca is sharing her happy birthday wishes. She did 2 unicorns on either side.
Thank you.
Yeah. It says happy birthday. 2 unicorn emojis. Yes. Happy birthday. Oh, 10 years old. What an exciting time.
Wow. Have you had sugar, Sophie?
No.
That's a lot of movement. I dig it. So that's going to be, just as a glimpse, that's going to be a part of our movement practice today, everybody. So get ready. Get yourselves caffeinated and sugared up right now so that you have about 30 minutes.
Get yourself a paper tube, an empty paper tube, and then just go for it.
And then just go for it. Yeah. Well, there was one motion that she was doing that was actually reminding me of like shake weights.
Oh yeah, shake weights.
I like that. I like, no matter who you are, where you're from, you get, this snake.
You know what a shake weight.
Yeah. So are you willing to do a meditation with us as well? Belated birthday girl? Yeah, okay. So I'd like to invite everybody to find themselves seated comfortably. And is it okay if I facilitate the meditation for today? Yaz did one on Friday, Steve.
I missed it. Oh.
It was really nice. It was really
I'm going to go back and watch it.
My first sort of like haphazard meditation practice.
I did meditation.
Yeah. It was great. It was perfect.
I'm going to go back and watch it.
Find yourselves in a comfortable posture. I'm going to, adjust my clothing a little bit here. I'd like to invite you to just experiment with dropping your eyes, closing them if you wish, maybe opening them a little bit, let a little bit of light, color in. Just some stimulation for yourself to help you stay focused. Let's give ourselves the gift of settling in, having a breath with one another here. And just knowing that whatever you're showing up to this practice with today, I'm really honored by the fact that you're bringing yourself here to this call to show up to this practice. And if you're showing up with a busy mind, a relaxed mind, a distracted mind, whatever you bring to this practice, allow yourself a moment to breathe in whatever qualities may be here with you now. And breathing out, saying to yourself, welcome, mind. Welcome to this space. Welcome to this time that we have together. And allow yourself a moment here to notice that it's Monday. Or whatever day it is that you're watching this. And perhaps you're joining this group, or you have tuned in to watch out of some hope to get some connection. Perhaps there's some questions that you want to ask, information that you're hoping to seek out. Just acknowledge that there are things that you may need, pursuits that you may have in being here, and welcome those as well. Acknowledging them. Almost like you can dutifully stand at the door of your awareness, welcoming each one of your thoughts, each one of your guests in, one by one. Maybe even in the space of your mind, it's necessary to keep 2 meters or 6 feet distance. And so maybe you're not shaking their hands, but maybe you can bow to them, smile at each one of them as they come in. And know that something important can happen here in this space. And just allow that possibility to be here. The possibility for something important to happen. Having another breath here, breathing in. I'd like to invite you to bring some motion into your body, like a wiggle of the fingers or rotation of the wrists, rolling the shoulders up, forward, and down, moving the head from side to side. And before we open our eyes, before we return to this space that we share together, just give yourself a moment here to just notice. What are you bringing to the table now? what hopes, expectations, what hopes or expectations, any desires that may be showing up for you. And when you feel ready, I'd like to welcome you to this space that we share together, allowing your eyes to open, noticing the faces of the other people who are on this call. Noticing that Rebecca put a smiley face in the super chat. And we'll just allow ourselves a moment to really soak one another in, welcoming each other with our eyes to this space. Welcome back, everyone. And welcome to the many people who are watching live. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, please introduce yourselves, chat with us in the super chat, ask any questions.
Yeah. Like, I'm really interested to know within the super chat, because I can't see like the YouTube live thing, but I'd be interested to know like where everybody's from, like the people that are watching this.
Yeah.
It's always an interest to me is like where people are at. Like, I know that we've got some people from the UK.
Yeah.
But that's all I know.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about who are you people? Who are you? Where are you from? Okay, so let's look at the very first act-based self-isolation support. So I can tell you where our audience is from. I can even tell you who likes and dislikes our videos. Creepy, I know. So it's interesting. So what we have here, if I can break this down by geography, is, let's see here. So the vast majority of our views are coming from the US, followed by Canada, which is pretty neat. Mm-hmm. Let's see here. It's hard to get a lot of data on these because it takes YouTube a long time to show us, this information. Let's see here. Yeah, so the US definitely is the largest, followed by the Canada, the United Kingdom, Australia. Quite a bit of viewership in India, which is very cool.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
The Netherlands, and then so those are the top sources of traffic, and then after India and the Netherlands, which have a split of about 2% of our audience each. So 2% of our audience is from India, 2% of our audience is from the Netherlands. Here's something interesting about that statistic. Only 1.5% of our audience from India actually subscribes. Hit that subscribe now button. Just accept that that's important to us. That's what we value, and commit to doing that. Please, thank you.
Hold that.
But 1.8% of our Netherlands audience are subscribers. Shout out. That's a loyal fan base, Netherlands. I think that's probably the largest conversion right there. And then underneath the Netherlands, it's followed by Germany, New Zealand, Malaysia, Sweden, Singapore, Belgium, France, Ireland, Israel, and Poland. I know that we get a few viewers.
That's cool. You can see that.
Yeah, from the region of South America in general. So I know that we got a lot of Chile friends, Argentina. I know that we have a lot of friends from Brazil as well who tune in, which is super cool. Yeah, so Brazil, yeah. Pretty cool stuff.
Really cool.
It's I had a Brazilian friend who said this hilarious thing once. We were at like a family get together, and they were speaking in their native tongue, and one of our friends said like, nobody understands you when you speak Spanish. And they're like, yeah, because I don't speak Spanish, I'm speaking Portuguese.
Portuguese. That's right. Yeah.
Never forget that joke. It was pretty good. Nobody understands you when you speak Spanish. Weird. Yeah, probably makes sense because I'm not speaking Spanish. speak Portuguese.
See, for me, I think like for me, when I listen to Portuguese, I feel like for me, Portuguese sounds a little bit more like Spanishy, yes, but I really get like a Frenchy vibe. I get like a French vibe from Portuguese.
Yeah. Portuguese seems a little bit more translatable to me as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But we also, you folks might not know this over in Birmingham. So we learn French in school all the way from, when does it start now?
Grade 4. I don't know. I started in grade 4.
Okay.
I started grade 4 and I finished in grade 10.
Earlier than grade 4.
Oh, really? It was interjected into our schooling when we were younger. Like when I was in kindergarten, our teachers would talk to us a little bit in French, but we didn't. In my grade school, we didn't explicitly start learning French until grade 4.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was interesting. Like from that perspective, the French that was taught before grade 4 was more conversational. Like we weren't conjugating verbs and stuff like that. It was just like bonjour, au revoir, comment ça va, ça va bien.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the extent of my French now.
Oh.
I don't remember most of it.
Yeah.
I can order eggs and shrimp. That's about.
That's pretty good. My French. I've got a GCSE in French. I don't know how. I have no idea.
Wow.
Yeah, I really have no idea because everybody I've spoken to is like that I knew at that time. Yeah, the French is like non-existent. I've just forgotten all of it. And these they do a bit of French.
I don't do French.
You did some French, didn't you?
They both intend. I don't do French.
I don't do French.
I did French from year 3 to year 6, but
Okay.
I didn't remember any of it. I never learned any of it. I only know how to say Je m'appelle Mariam.
That's pretty good, though.
That's pretty good.
Like that'll get you through some stuff.
Absolutely.
I think they're concentrating more on Spanish over here. They're trying to get the kids to learn Spanish more. So
Spanish is the second most language in the world, and it's one of the easiest to learn.
Yeah.
But it's still pretty hard to learn.
Cool.
Don't try to learn Chinese then. Don't try to learn Chinese. Chinese is so hard.
So hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a friend where we were hanging out with their son. And do you remember him, Nate? Do you remember him speaking? So he goes to a school that's a Mandarin immersion school out in the Oakland kind of area. And Steve, do you remember him speaking Mandarin to us? That was pretty cool.
Yeah,
Translating
that was pretty neat. Yeah.
That's cool.
Pardon me?
That sounds really cool. So the whole school is like what? They're speaking Chinese?
Yeah,
they're speaking Mandarin. Yeah. So we do that in Canada. We have immersion schools. So you go to the school and there's different tiers. Like there's one tier where they will send communications home to you, like to the parents in English. And then there's a sort of different tier of immersion where they will only provide information in French, en français. So get your Google Translate out there, mom and dad.
Yeah, Ellis is going to French immersion in September.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
good for the brain and good for public.
He's excited. He's very excited. Yeah, good for public service announcements. Yeah,
I can imagine that's probably the best way to learn a language, just to throw yourself in it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. So, Steve, you were going to talk to us a little bit about what it's like to teach yoga online.
Yeah, it's so I'll preface by saying that yoga has been happening online for a long period of time. That there's websites out there like Yoga Glow. I know that Yoga International does a lot of stuff online. But for those of us that are primarily studio teachers, it's been a weird transition of going online. One, in that as somebody who, like for me, I really thrive on being in a room with people teaching.
Yeah.
That it's like, even when I'm having a bad day, if I go in and teach a class, within a couple minutes of just being in a room full of people moving and breathing and expressing themselves together, like that's instantly an energy rush for me. I always, like, I can feel like the shittiest that I've ever felt and come out of a yoga class, teaching a yoga class, and maybe not even say a lot of stuff, but I come out really energized. And so that's been a weird transition for me, of just teaching to an imaginary audience. And especially, like, I don't do a lot of hands-on adjustments. I'm not really a hands-on kind of teacher. I prefer verbal. And if I do give hands-on adjustments, they're more guiding movements as opposed to putting people in positions. And so that's really weird, of not being able to offer suggestions to the people that I'm teaching to online. With the calls that we're doing right now on Zoom, there'd be far too many screens to watch. Like we're talking like 40 plus people in a class. And so that being said, like I wouldn't be able to see, the size of their screen would be like this big if everybody was on gallery mode and I was trying to see them. So it's been weird, but still accessible. So my kids' room is the biggest room in the house, or we live in a pretty large 2-bedroom apartment. And so I use their room as the teaching studio, and I just set up the laptop, and one of the administrators of De La Soul sort of makes sure that my camera is in the right position so that you can see my mat and my head. Yeah, and it's been interesting in that.
How do they do that, Steve? Do they communicate with you remotely? Like they text you and say,
oh no, shout out to Chanel, who's one of the administrators of De La Soul. She's a wonderful human being and such a big help, especially in this time. So she'll come onto the call with us before the class starts, and like maybe 15 minutes before the class starts, and we'll just have a conversation of like, where is my camera? Do I need to move it up? Do I need to move it down? And then she leaves the call like once I get the camera.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's really helpful in that regard. But what I've found, one, is that I don't know, right now I'm really into this idea that we're completely adaptable, like that human beings have this natural capacity to adapt. Yeah. And this is one of the things that I've been feeling, is just like, it is what it is. And either I'm going to teach it or I'm not. And if I'm going to teach it, I need to adapt. And it's just been interesting being able to feel that adaptation happen, where I'm getting more comfortable leading. In the beginning, I was a little bit more in my head about it, like a lot of thoughts rolling through my mind, even as I'm teaching, of like, can people see what I'm doing? Can they hear me well? I wonder what they're doing. I wish I could offer corrections if they need it. And then now just really settling into the teaching aspect of it without all of the extra mind stuff happening, which is really nice. But I'm also finding it as a benefit right now. I've wanted to do more online content, and we've done some recording together, Tim and I. And so I'm feeling a lot more confident in my ability to just simply teach, but not necessarily have an audience for response.
Okay.
So like right now, I'm super ready to just record a bunch of stuff and not really think about what it is that's happening on the sidelines or in the periphery, just like having sequences and teaching them and getting them done. And so I'm feeling much more comfortable in that sort of realm and much more prepared to do those kind of things. But it's been a weird transition of I as much as I am an introvert to a degree, and I really love spending time alone or in small groups, like with my family. So this whole self-isolation thing hasn't been too bad for me, because I'm sort of a hermit. I like to be by myself, but I really do. There are moments when I really thrive with social contact. Yeah. So that's been a weird transition of, like, let's say for me, even particularly, I used to have 2 days off. It was Sunday and Wednesday. And then what I was finding was on the Wednesdays, even if I got up early and I did my movement practice and I had my coffee and I did my seated meditation practice, there was still something that felt off throughout the day. It was almost like a lagginess that would follow me through the day. And then I figured out, when I started occasionally subbing classes on Wednesdays, usually in the morning, that if I went out, taught a class, and came back, I was much more amped up and much more in tune, and I felt better. And so then I added a class on Wednesday morning, just 9:30, one class on that day. And it made a world of difference. So like being out there and teaching and communicating with students is super good for my mental health and my physical health. I feel better in my body when I socialize. So that's been a weird aspect of it, is I'm not getting the same kind of buzz, like if I could use that term, I get the same kind of buzz that I usually would when I teach a class. But it's still, there's still something there of even just teaching online, that there's still some aspect of invigoration, of just knowing that I've been there and I've taught and I've been present. And there are people out there, even though I can't see them. And then they type little messages at the end of the class, which is super nice.
Yeah,
but it's been weird.
So Steve, I'm assuming that you're not getting that same benefit from teaching online though.
No, it definitely feels different. There's something there. There's definitely something it's better than not teaching.
Yeah.
But it's still, it's definitely not the same thing. It's not the same feeling.
Yeah. Okay. And how have you two, are either of you consuming much news media? Are you kind of letting that go?
I've cut down, because at the beginning,
Paranoia.
oh my gosh, sorry, she's had coffee, so I do apologize. So at the beginning, when we first the quarantine first started, I was reading a lot of news, and I was consuming myself, like concerned with the figures and how many people are infected and stuff and things like that. Now it's like I might check it like maybe once or twice a day, when I was like constantly checking before. So I feel a lot more better for not checking so much.
Yeah.
How about you, Steve?
I'm not much of a news person as it is. Like I tend not to. I get most of my news from the BBC on the drive to work if I need to listen to the news and stuff like that. So I think I said this on another call, that Adele, my wife, is really my source for important news
and conspiracy theories.
So she fills me in on all the stuff that I need to know. Like even right now in the United States, there's some Trump is like tweeting in large capital letters of like, liberate Minnesota, liberate Michigan. And I'm not necessarily on board with all of the information about what's happening, but then the way that Adele is sort of giving me the information is almost like Trump is trying to get people to break isolation. And I'm just like, that's strange. That's very odd.
I mean, but let's also not participate in the identity politics game. Like, let's be very clear. Like, this isn't Trump instigating this necessarily in people. This is a very strong narrative. Like, I mean, I saw a photograph of, and this is rather indelicate, and I would be mortified if somebody did this with me. Although I'm sure I can take it. I can take a lot. Somebody superimposed the face of the governor of Michigan, her face over the face of Adolf Hitler in a classical kind of portrait of Hitler. Excuse me. Have you folks heard about anti-quarantine protesters being blocked by healthcare workers?
This is one of the things that Adele was telling me this morning.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, and I want to speak very plainly here. I made the decision early on to stop seeing clients in person before a state of emergency was announced, before non-essential businesses were closed, to help stop the spread of the novel coronavirus. I want to be very clear though. There are also people who feel very strongly that it is their right, it is their freedom to be able to go to work if they want, and that their family won't survive if they don't go to work. You know, the Paycheck Protection Program in the U.S. has been completely absorbed. It's been utilized to its maximum. In fact, people who have applied are not getting the funding because the funding has already run out. Banks were not provided with the paperwork well in advance. They were provided with the paperwork largely the night before the Triple P program came out. So I get that this is a really polarizing issue for people. I mean, we haven't heard about the Canadian Emergency Relief Benefit running out, but money can't be printed for forever. And also it largely will probably diminish the value of our currency as well by printing money. And so, when you see, let's say a $900 iPhone that now sells for $1,800, we're probably going to see the largest amount of inflation that, we'd ever seen in our lifetimes.
Yeah.
So I want, folks to understand that we get it. There's most certainly a reason for the polarizing kind of opinions. I don't mean to dump on Fox News. I'm forever impressed by how well read Tucker Carlson is, and I'm sure that any of my liberal friends are probably absolutely cringing by me saying this. Same with Joe Rogan. I mean, I'm continually impressed by how much these folks actually do their homework. But it's becoming hard to even consume any of this news media because you can tell they're just speaking in a way where they're looking for sound bites, right? Tucker Carlson interviewing a governor, saying well, did you consult a lawyer before violating people's constitutional rights and freedoms? Right? That's not journalism, right? I mean, that's sensationalism. That's partisanship. And it's not helping any of us. Yeah. I don't know. Am I, what do you folks think about what I'm saying here?
No, I really agree that, especially within the ACT world that we sort of move in, where we talk about that sort of bench science of functional contextualism, that it's all contextual and everybody's in a different, one of my friends the other day posted a meme on Facebook and it says, we're not in the same boat. We are in the same ocean. And I really like that we're all, coronavirus is a worldwide pandemic, but we're not all in the same boat. Not everybody, some people are in yachts and some people are in canoes. And some people are on little single level rafts put together with logs and strings. And keeping in mind not only the context that people live in, but their own personal or collective value systems. That those things are going to roll out different behaviors and different agendas. And that's what I like about what you said about just the polarizing fact is that there's going to be people over here and there's going to be people over here. And topographically, how we handle this and how we work with it, or even how we relate to it, is going to be a little bit different or a lot different. Right? When Adele was telling me about some of the stuff happening in the United States right now, I was like, wow. At first I was like, wow, that's crazy. And then when I actually reflected on it for a moment, I was like, oh no, I totally see that perspective. That perspective is not my perspective. That's not where I'm living from or what I'm doing with it. But I totally get that. Any piece of information comes out or whatever sort of stimulus it is that happens, and the response is going to be different across the board. Right?
Yeah. We all make a meaning out of it and relate to it in a different way.
Exactly. Yeah.
And our situations are all quite different, aren't they?
Very much so. Very much so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really, really interesting. Yeah, thanks for that, Steve. That's a nice little piece of flexibility. If I may I read from the super chat, you two? I don't know, Yaz, if there's anything major that you wanted to share. Somebody's very enthusiastic.
You need to try this.
Oh, she's found a crisp in the shape of a heart.
Oh, should we show it to us?
That's nice.
Oh no, and you ate it? Well, there goes your potato chip museum.
It's not potato chip, it's crisps. That's what they call it over there.
We call them chips.
Yeah.
Monsters.
There's that different context.
How we relate. So Laura says, I try to stay away from the news. From someone who suffers with mild anxiety tendencies, this is better for my sanity and peace of mind. I totally respect that, Laura. Yes, 100%. And our friend Rebecca followed up and said, it does take flexibility during this time with COVID-19 in how I interact with people virtually or even at the grocery store. I think it's great you're still willing to teach classes, Steve.
Thank you. Yeah.
The thumbs up emphasis was my own. Yeah, that's very sweet, Rebecca. So
anybody wants to come and take a class,
feel
free to check me out.
DeLaSoulYoga.com. Yeah, I think we plugged De La Soul on last week. I know I definitely put it in the super chat, but yeah.
Oh, did you? Okay, good. Yeah.
Take a yoga class with Steve. What's wrong with you people? Come on. So
oh my gosh. With the amount of stuff that I got going on, I find it difficult to set aside time.
Yeah.
So
of course.
Yeah. So I think that's what I'm finding difficult at the moment, setting aside time for that sort of stuff.
Mhm.
It's like because when I'm at home all the time, it's like you start one job, you sort of like finish that, but then within 20 minutes there's another job to do.
Yeah.
So whether you put a wash on and the washing machine and you've got to put hang the stuff up, or you know, somebody's asked for, can I have this, can I have that, then you've got to cook dinner as well, and then you've got to sort the dishes out, and then I've got to do some work for my dissertation. So it's like I'm just finding it really hard to manage time.
Yeah. Well, and being in isolation is not an ideal way to be a space to be productive. Yeah.
It's for me.
Yes.
I like that. It is for me.
It
is great not having to be around 30 other children your age.
Yeah. That's interesting. You know, that's a perspective that I think, you know, would be really valuable. Would you be willing to come and hang out and chat with us for a minute about that? Yeah, tell us more.
I don't get along with people my age, and then they give me a headache a lot. So it's just nice not being around 30 children your age, 6 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Absolutely.
Nice and calm.
And what's it like to have your siblings around?
I get along with Staffy, and then I'm getting along with my older sister.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You're getting along more better with her now, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I see the same thing with my two little kids, is that even though there are, let's say, like some bigger fights happening sometimes, that across the board, my son and my daughter are so much better at playing with each other now.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And they're doing like the human respect thing better. Like if somebody gets hurt, my son will run. Like if my daughter gets hurt, my son will run over and be like, "Are you okay?" And that's it was happening before, but I think now that they're spending so much more time together, it's rolling out on a regular basis. But I agree with what it's Mariam, right?
Mariam. Yeah.
Mariam. I want to say it correctly. I don't want to say your name wrong. I don't want you to pronounce my name Stev. So. But I was the same when I was in grade school. Is that I found it difficult in school being surrounded by so many other people that, and especially as somebody who suffered from social anxiety pretty much all the way through grade school and high school, I probably would have done so much better at school if I wasn't constantly trying to manage myself in a sea of other people. Right? And for me, like a lot of my social anxiety stuff was wondering what other people were thinking about me and what I was doing. And if I could be in an environment where I wasn't focusing on that so much, I probably would have got way better grades in school.
Yeah. What do you think of that, Mariam?
Yeah.
Is that how you feel?
Yeah, I would say that being in school for me was more of a distraction than it was actually helpful. I was better at learning when I was at home by myself.
Oh, that's good. Well, when I was younger, it was an escape for me from home, because my father, he had paranoid schizophrenia. And also he had it was called manic depression then, but it's bipolar. So he had that as well. So it was quite difficult being at home. So even though I didn't particularly find school fabulous, it was still an escape. So I think it's different for different people. I also attended a webinar on Friday for it's provided by a mental health group. It's called Emerging Minds.
Okay.
And then we do support for adolescents and staff who suffer with mental health difficulties. So they did a webinar on screens, teens and quarantines. And that was really good. It's available on YouTube as well. I think it's you know, the Mental Elf. Have you heard of that? Yeah, the Mental Elf on their channel. I think they've got it on there. So it was really good because it was like they're just basically saying that, you know, they're giving proof and evidence of how much does it make a difference with the amount of time the kids spend on screens and stuff. And there's another one that I'm attending tomorrow with regards to mental health and the youth and quarantine as well. So those have been quite helpful. So.
Yeah, wow.
Good.
Thank you for the vulnerability, all of you, in sharing this very meaningful information. Yeah, and I think that the sort of theme of our talk today is like how each of us relate to similar stimulus events is quite different, and what they mean, right? Which I think is a beautiful analogy for actually what's happening globally, for how people are relating to this pandemic and making sense out of it. Yeah. Yeah, really profound stuff. So, Steve, do you feel comfortable running us through our movement practice before we say goodbye for today?
Yeah, for sure. What did you guys do on Friday for movement practice?
Kind of like it'd be nice if we could do a little more sort of self-massaging kind of stuff. We did a little bit of like some movement with some like yoga hugs and some very slow kind of stretching. Yeah.
Okay. So why don't we do some self-massaging stuff today? I'm cool with that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I'm all on board for self-massage stuff.
Yeah.
So you don't have to stand up for this. You can stay seated if you like. And I'm going to take my headphones and put them on my neck, but you can still hear me, right?
We can actually hear you even better, even louder now.
Oh, yeah. Wonderful. So this is going to be kind of based on what's known as Abhyanga, which is Ayurvedic self-massage, which is something that I do very often. And so at the beginning, you're going to take just your fingertips and you're going to place them around your skull. And you're going to just start to draw like smaller circles around. And adding as much pressure as feels appropriate. And then sort of like what I see Tim doing, which is good, is he's kind of like moving his fingers like even in and out. So it's almost like you're making larger circles with the arms, but like almost smaller circles with the fingertips. And then you go around back. And especially if you've been spending a lot of time looking at screens, the muscles on the back of your skull, known as some of them are the suboccipitals or the occipital muscles, are very intimately connected with eye function. And so I notice that it's very common if I've been spending a lot of time staring at things, that these muscles are really tender. And then what I like to do is I like to make little like gentle fists. And then I'm going to take the fist to those spots on the back of my skull and then just sort of rub up and down. And you can go quicker, you can go slower. Good, and you can even like take the knuckles if it feels appropriate, like onto the top of the skull. It's almost like you're giving yourself a noogie. For those of us that grew up being bullied, we know exactly what a noogie feels like. And then I like to come forward before I finish up. I like to come forward onto my temples. That always feels nice for me. Yeah. And then just like maybe some light rubbing and some smoothing down on the head. Right. Some of the idea is that when you do this with sometimes known as Ayurvedic physiology, that you're just sending energy down from the mind into the rest of the body, which I really like. Get out of my head for a little bit. And then from there, I like to lobster claw my hands like this. And then I'm going to go over my shoulder so that my forefingers are at the back and my thumbs are at the front. And then I kind of just like to squeeze a little bit within the area known as the traps. So like those large muscles just at the base of the neck. And I might even like get in there if I find a tender-ish spot, but not necessarily trying to make it hurt. If I find a tender-ish spot, I might even just like pinch and then hold. And then take a couple breaths like down into the belly, up into the ribs. And then some of you might even notice that the sensation could start as being relatively intense, but then the longer you hold it, it starts to decrease in intensity, which is a good sign. And then you could like rub around a little bit more. And then again, if you find another sort of tender-ish spot, you pinch it or squeeze it. Take a couple breaths down into the belly, down into the pelvic floor. Good, and then relaxing from there. And then taking right hand on left shoulder, and you're basically just going to draw clockwise circles on the shoulder. And you can, I like to, while I'm doing that, I'm sort of gently rubbing in a clockwise fashion. Did I say counterclockwise before or clockwise? So clockwise. And then I'll even grab a little bit while I'm doing that. So I'm drawing circles and I'm like grabbing the tissues there. Okay. And then I'm going to rub sort of like that down the arm. Works a lot better when you have oil on your skin. Good, and then you go to the opposite, left hand on right shoulder. And again, clockwise circles, which might feel easier to do clockwise circles on one side as opposed to the other, as far as the coordination is concerned. One of the general rules in Ayurvedic massage is circular motions over the joints, and then longer strokes over longer bones, like upper arm bones, femurs, forearm bones. Good, and then again, some sort of like rubbing down the arm. Good, and then to finish off, especially for those of us that have been typing on computers a lot lately, because like I've been writing more blogs recently, that I'm going to take my left hand and I'm going to grab my right wrist. So fingers are on the back and the thumb is on the front, and then just giving some light circular motions in and around the wrist, and allowing the hand to almost follow what it is that the finger is doing on the wrist. So you'll be getting some flexion and some extension in the wrist at the same time. Good, and then take that into the hand. I like to rub up towards the fingers. And then I also like to take a moment, thumb on the palm side, index finger on the back, and just squeeze what's known as the mound of the thumb. Sort of, add some rubbing in and around there. Yeah, it's some good stuff happening in there usually. And then we've been blessed with the presence of balloons while we massage. If you ask my kids, balloons make everything better. Good, and then we'll go opposite side. And again, the thumb on the palm side of the wrist, fingers on the back. Small circles with the thumbs. And some areas that I think are really overlooked a lot of the times when we're doing stuff like massage is things like wrists, hands, feet, although feet are much more popular than hands are. And then the neck and the head. I feel like the head doesn't get enough love as far as massage is concerned. And then again, moving on to the palm of the hand, sort of massaging the mound of the thumb. And then taking that up towards the fingers. And then again, some pressure, thumb on one side, finger on the other into the mound of the thumb. Yeah. It's amazing how much tension there is in there, eh? Like how much sensation there is in such a small spot. Good. And then just a little bit of this. Good. And then a shake out. One of these days I'm going to learn how to snap my fingers like Dave Chappelle does. I don't know how to do that though. Yeah.
That was beautiful, Steve.
It's nice and simple.
Yeah. Ooh, I'm feeling the hands just like made it for me. You know what I mean? Because even my thumbs were like fatiguing and I was feeling a bit crampy in the hands as I was like self-massaging.
Yeah.
I was like, oh,
that's what I like to do. Even when I'm massaging, let's say like my wife likes to get her feet massaged, and I love to. I don't love to massage her feet, but I agree to do it very often. And then like after that, like you were saying, your hands get fatigued while you're massaging yourself, and so you finish off like just giving some love to the things that gave love.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Right on, man. Right
yeah,
on.
that was good.
Yeah.
You like that, Mariam?
Good. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right. So before we wrap up for today, this Monday, April 20th, 2020, I want all of you folks who have joined us here live on the call, thank you for being here with us. Thanks for hitting that thumbs up button, committing to doing that. That feels really reinforcing for us, makes us want to make more of these videos. And Yaz, Steve, thank you for being here. This is
thanks so much for thanks so much.
This is
good to see all of you guys.
Yeah.
Have a great day, girls.
Yeah. And again, happy birthday. And for Rebecca and Laura, of course, anytime you want to join us live on the actual Zoom call itself, just hit me up with an email, tim@thezensocialworker.ca, and we most certainly can get you into the call. I think that's it. Was there anything else that you wanted to say, Yaz, before we say goodbye?
Disappear.
Wow. Okay.
That's all.
That says it all. That says it all
right there. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for this
wonderful connection. You guys too.
Brightens my day.
Blessings to everyone.
Bye, everybody.